Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Wanted to spend a couple minutes on this video and just kind of show off a few of my favorite cards. It's always kind of fun to look through and share. And as I've said in other videos, some of my collection is really hard to comp because I might be the only purchase in the last year, so it becomes less fun to try and rank it for most expensive, and sometimes I don't even care if it's the most expensive. To me, it's just like the coolest cards. So not for sentimental sake, these are all kind of things I've acquired myself, so there's not really any of the pull or sentimental value that kind of alters the impact of a card for my collection. But I just wanted to share. These are 10 that I think are just super fun, super cool cards. So see what you guys think. And I did split them quite evenly. Maybe it's the OCD, but I split them as 5 are SGC and 5 are PSA. So if you're super partial to one, you can either speed up until I get to that holder or skip it. None are raw, none are BVG, which is not in my no list for sure. I'm definitely more than open to doing that. So I'll start sharing. I tried to kind of organize them by reverse chronological by holder. How's that for nerding out? But 1947, the very first one, is the most recent that I have in a PSA holder that I'll share tonight. This is the most recent pickup. This thing has been with me for like what feels like hours. I mean, it's literally a couple days. But 1947 Tip Top Bred Larry Berra, the outfielder. Which I love stuff like that. It's Yogi, one of the couple cards that you'd consider to be his almost like, pre-rookie, I guess you would say. So for me, I mean, there's like that, kind of burnished looking stain there, and the corners are by no means amazing. But I think if you looked at that card that way and then said, that's a 1, like, that's a good 1. So I'm good at that. So I am quite happy to have that Yogi. I'm a big fan of Yogi. What a great person. What a great, champion with all the titles and whatnot. So tremendous. My favorite catcher. Argue out who's the best, but for me, for my collection, it's Yogi for sure. The next one actually is probably my easy choice for first baseman as well. And definitely a cool one to have scored. So yet another 1 on the list. I'm good at that. This one's definitely rougher. Corners, whatnot, are far from enviable. But in terms of the image, I think you still get the idea. It's definitely the same Lou Gehrig card that anybody would appreciate in a much higher grade. So the back as well has seen some better days. Not the sharpest back in my collection by any means. I don't know, the blurring even makes it worse. It's so beat up, but this is one of those cards that I think if it wasn't, I would have just had it on the dream list forever, and then it becomes that unattainable mythical card that you just chase forever. So I'm very happy just to have it. And again, it's good enough that I can appreciate it. So I will take it. The next one is, funny enough, it does not say it's a black swamp find or anything on the label, but I believe it is. This thing, talk jumping from style to style, that thing looks fake. Let's see if I can get it to come into focus a little bit better here for you guys. This is one that I definitely enjoy looking at. It is not focusing very well for you, is it? There we go. Maybe. And again, 3-finger brown, Mordecai Brown. I love the fact that it says minor, just to throw in a little bit of a nickname. I think it's an 8. That's silly. It's a 1910, so what the collector grade would be a 1. That's silly too. I don't do that, but the idea that you can get a card from 1910, E98. I actually have all 4 of the backgrounds. I'm a pretty decent collector of 3-finger brown. He's from Indiana, just like I am, so I think that's super cool. He was a Cobb. He played for obviously a couple different teams, but Just what a story. Yeah, you could see even when you start looking at some of these cards. My apologies, but I'm trying to get it to where you can see his hand. I feel like they even try and depict his hand pretty well in these things, which is just so super cool. So absolutely love that card. Probably overpaid for it, which is not nearly as funny as my laughter might indicate, but at the same time, you're not finding those every day. So I definitely subscribe to the idea that, when you find that card that you'd be upset in a month that you missed, sometimes you just got to jump, and you'd rather have it in your collection than not. So you just do it. Next one, we keep getting older. 1909. This is another one. It got a Portafair, which is, maybe it's because the old grading number and whatnot. I mean, 1A, whatever. If I were to do this and just said, like, hey, check out my new Cobb card, I think everybody would be like, wow, that thing's amazing. And they go like, oh man, I damaged it. Other than that thing is sharp. That's a gorgeous card, minus, can I get rid of that? So forgive my thumb, but to me, that is such a cool card. There's the list from the set. If I can get it to come in again. I hate that I get blur with this. There we go. So that's the complete set that would be collected. I am not a set collector. I am probably primarily a player collector, but I also have a little bit of that desire to get, kind of one of every set. I don't know that that's even near realistic, and my definition of every might be very different, but yeah, I thought that Cobb is a representative. That's one of my favorite Cobbs. It's just such a different thing, and it's also, a caramel card. So I like that. I like the caramel cards. Caramel's better than tobacco in my world, so I think it's where my bias goes. Here's the next one. Super, super clean. Kind of a weird one. And these are ones where they have, 3 or 4 different people will have the same, like, artistic version of their card. So, Christy Mathewson. And it's faded away. I don't know if that's in the printing process. I would think it would have to be. They can't just have been left in the sun. And I've taken, ridiculously good care of this since buying it. I bought this 15, 20 years ago, so it was not nearly the big of a deal that it would have been today. Grade-wise, it's a 4, which I believe there's a 5 that exists in the set A, and then maybe 2 4s. So that's not just a rare card, but actually in pretty good condition, especially with how I collect. So definitely very, very happy with the Christy Mathewson. So there's my first 5. There's my PSA 5 cool cards that I will add. I'm going to take these down and click reset on the world. So away goes Mordecai. Bye-bye Lou. See you Yogi. And we'll restart and we'll go back to moderns. Some of the newer ultra modern cards that I collect. We'll go with this thing that's just a little bit to the beat up side, at least. It's a definitely a solid 1. If I can get that thing to come in without all the glare and all the angles and all the blur, you would start to see this thing. It definitely has a couple of good creases there. I think you're catching that right there, right in the middle. But in terms of just appreciating how it looks, and again, it's just, I think for the most part, it's a pretty clean card. It's got the crease, it's got the edges, but I just love that. The Hot Dog Ted Williams, that thing is just, that's on most people's list of one of the coolest looking cards. So I picked that over as play ball and, whatever else you could think of. I just think that's such a neat card. So 1954, that's the most modern of any of the 10 that I picked for today to show and kind of talk about. But super rare, those kind of appreciated, what would have been oddball and now considered are like ultra premium rare cards. So love it. Next one is probably one of the 2 or 3 players I collect the most. I think I have most of his relatively affordable cards, and this one is more affordable because of the condition. But looks like it got into a small fight with the dog, and the dog didn't completely lose. But for what this is, that condition, that's a really, really rough edge. But when you start to see a 1946, 1947 print run, Propaganda Musial, I know I'm butchering that for folks that are more fluent in Spanish, so my apologies. I am by no means able to say that with any kind of appropriate pronunciation, but Stan Musial. So I love these cards that come from Cuba and Venezuela and all these, kind of offshoots, which makes them even more ultra elite and rare and cool. And you take a look at the back, and you're like, I would love to be able to interpret that someday. The back's actually pretty decent, given that the edge is so mangled and destroyed. But that's absolutely for a Musial collection to be able to have that and go kind of beyond the Bowman and Leaf and have that extra like bonus, exceptional rookie card kind of status there is super cool. Next three don't quite get as old as the PSAs, so I fill in a little bit of the gap there, but this next one is a 1921, so it's a strip card. It's a W516. There's a few things that I really think are cool about it, other than the fact that I was able to add a Babe Ruth, but of all the Babe Ruths, and again, of course, Gowdy, you're getting into some of those really cool caramels and things. I would love to have those, but this one's a little bit more in the realistic budget. But there's a few things that actually this I would pick almost just right along with them for a few cool factors. It says Babe Ruth. He's with the Yankees, which just says Yanks, which is awesome. The 516s are in reverse, so it shows him throwing righty. But the other thing I think is just amazing, it's a 1921. How cool is it they list him as a pitcher? Like, to me, that just reeks of coolness. I just love that. So the back is absolutely blank and bare. It's all in one piece, though, so we'll take that, right? That's better than it could be. To me, that was a card that was on my list, and I saw somebody on Facebook pop up and said they had it available, so I reached out right away and just said, hey, can we make this work? What are you looking for? So worked back and forth, and that was such a great transaction, but I just think that's so cool. Love that. When you have those unique little things, and obviously all of them, it's not like it's an error. That's the way it was made for him to be throwing right-handed, but you get Babe Ruth, you show him throwing righty, and you list him as a pitcher. To me, that's super, super cool. This next one, and I will nerd out on this player when I do his kind of player run. I guess you don't really do runs for these guys because they have gaps of years because there's nothing available, but this one is a M101-4. I am searching hard for an M101-5 because it lists him, instead of being a first baseman, as a pitcher. So it's not the Babe Ruth from that issue. I of course would love to have that, but I am such a big fan of George Sisler. So it lists him as being a first baseman. It's low grade. It's fine. It's a 1. I'm good with 1s. Actually, I guess the collector grade is whatever decade it's from. So it's from 16. So I guess a 1 is the collector grade. But I mean, it's got some creases. It's not perfect. I mean, even, I don't know how you'd ever criticize centering or even corners or even some creases on a card like this. It's just super cool. George Sisler, other than being, a 340 hitting first baseman that it had to wait until Ichiro to break his single season record, the 400 batting average, all the good stuff that he accomplished in his career. But you also look at just some of the unique things. Played in college under Branch Rickey, who eventually was the one that signed Jackie Robinson, and he did actually served in the military under Branch Rickey, and then he ended up helping to scout for Branch Rickey. And from what I've seen, he scouted both Jackie Robinson and later Roberto Clemente. So what a just cool story. just seemed like such a good, straight-laced, hardworking guy, good, clean life. You know, everything you kind of read about George Sisler, he's what you'd want to see in a sports hero, because he actually was just a good human being from everything you can find in the stories and records of him. So huge fan of Sisler, Musial, Yogi Berra. You read about their lives and things they've done, just so cool. So that's why some of those guys make my list. And the last one, I didn't necessarily mean to introduce him, but I think by talking George Sisler, I did lead right into Mr. Branch Rickey. So that one's authentic. Minimum size not met. It does not say that it's trimmed. The dealer I bought this from is a pretty large, reputable dealer, and he said it's not unheard of for these, simply just because of quality control, to not quite hit the minimum size. So to me, it's a nice looking card, and Branch Rickey cards, you're not exactly finding 20 of them and getting super picky as to which one you want to buy. So when you hunt for this thing for a while and you finally see one pop up, so 1914, 1915, you can always tell depending on which way the back is facing. So 1915, it's upside down, which is kind of fun. You read it like that, the way it flips. But Branch Rickey obviously just kind of changed the game. I don't know if he's appropriately recognized, not as recognized as he should be, but his involvement with Jackie Robinson and just being innovative, creating minor league play, things like that, just so many different things he did for the game. So when I saw the chance to grab a Cracker Jack, which the set in itself, a common looks pretty cool in a Cracker Jack set, and then you get the fact that it's one of the few Branch Rickey cards you can find anywhere. I figured that was a snag, and that's just ever since I acquired that one, and even before, I would have put that in my top 10 of just cool, fun cards. So I'll keep doing things like this. I'll do maybe a 5 to 10 card kind of show and tell and talk a little bit, but also do some player runs and talk about a little deeper dive on players like Musial and George Sisler and Yogi Berra. I've got a pretty decent run of, so I'll try and share those. So hopefully this is fun. This is probably the longest kind of video I would ever do, but I think if you can share some of your favorites and a little bit of a story and why you appreciate that card or that player, I feel that sometimes is hard to separate. Do I collect the player? Do I collect the cards, the series? Is Ted Williams just the coolest thing in the world because it's the hot dog card, or is it because he's probably the best hitter of all time? So I guess the answer to that is generally just yes. I don't think there's a wrong answer, but being those are the two ways I collect, I kind of double appreciate that card. So thank you all for taking an extended time to take a look at this. I hope maybe you saw a card or two that you can add to your list, or tell me anything else that would fulfill some of those cool little ideas I had. If there's a series I'm missing or a set I'm missing, I'd love to learn more. Appreciate everybody that's been sharing, and I will see you on the next one. Have a good one.